hello, and welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday, where we are sharing helpful networking tips to help grow your business. This is Dr. Tandra Price. I am your host today, and oh my God, do I have something so special for you today? I'm telling y'all, listen, get ready, because this is going to be so juicy. But before we get started, I always got to, just throw out a few things to make sure that, first of all, that you like, share, and comment on our feed today. I'm making sure right now that I have all my stuff on my end ready so I can get your questions on not only live on LinkedIn, but I can get you on Facebook as well. The second thing, you know what? Note takers are money makers. So you always got to make sure, when you're talking with me, that you have your notebook, your handy dandy notebook, and your pen, because I'm telling you today, you are going to want to take some notes. Because I am so excited because y'all just don't know who I got on today. Now, if y'all been following me, y'all going to understand why I am so excited about this particular person that we have today. Let me see here. Okay. So I want to thank my sponsor too, which is On Stage Plus TV, that they're going to be airing this as well. So this is going, look, worldwide. We worldwide. Yes. Thank you so much for joining in on us on Facebook. Thank you. I'm just going to set the room again. This is Talk to Me Tuesday, where we share helpful networking tips to help grow your business. I am your host today, Dr. Tandra Price, and I have the amazing, listen to me, guys. I have the amazing Charles Parks III on the line. Now, y'all know how we do it. Listen, he's going to introduce himself. He's going to tell you a little bit about him. And guess what? Since we only got an hour, and I know y'all probably driving or whatever, eating lunch, I want to make sure that we make this real interesting for you. So, Charles, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell the audience a little bit about you. And then we're just going to jump in.
All right. Sounds good. My name is Charles CP30 Parks III. I own a company called Millionaire LLC. I am a technology, media, and strategy consultant. In a nutshell, I provide and leverage media, technology, and strategy services to help people make more money. I'm now on my 30th year consulting. I celebrated that just last month in August. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So I've been around the block a few times. Last year, just to put some things into today's conversation into some context, last year I set a goal for myself that I wanted to make 7 digits or more. And so I spent the first 10 days of the year creating we'll just call it a really nice crypto script that I was able to use at scale. And after working that 10 days, let's just put it this way, I didn't work the rest of the year. So I'm here to try and help empower everyone to develop a multimillionaire mentality. So what does that entail? Mentality, as a framework that I've created, involves 6 domains. Tandra, we're going to jump into the purpose domain. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. What's your purpose? But in the context of yourself. So no one else, just you. What do you feel your purpose is?
First of all, let me just stop for just a second.
I can't ask the questions. That's right. Sip my water over here.
I want you to ask questions, but you know what? I want everyone to remember, right on your notes right now, what was our topic? If anyone can remember what our topic was going to be about today, because this is where he's leading me to. So I want to tell you just a little bit of history about me and Charles. So me and Charles work together. Now, a lot of what he's going to be talking about, I know he's going to slap my hand and whatever. He has helped me along the way. And that's why I'm bringing him to you, because, listen, he got that juice. He got that real juice, okay, that he's going to be bringing. So I wanted to kind of just let you know how me and him even connected together. We've been working together. We have a lot of different things in common. He's my mentor. He's given me a lot of different tools and resources that I use. Now, I tell you all the time that we got to have a mentor, right? We got to have a coach. So he's my coach, y'all. So I'm sharing my juice with y'all today. Okay. So listen, yes, you can't ask me that question. I just wanted to just kind of give them a little
Give some
idea of how we
context.
connected, a
Absolutely.
little bit how our relationship started. And listen, how to become what a millionaire. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about, but I know it's going to be
Mhm.
related into this mentality. So,
Right.
okay, go ahead.
All right.
Ask
So I'm
me
gonna
the
ask it again.
question again.
All right. So tell me about your purpose, but from the context of yourself. So we'll get into loved ones and everybody else later, but just you. What do you feel is your purpose for you?
My purpose for me is I want to be able to be an individual that could, be stand on our own, make an income that will allow me to live a fun, filled, and fulfillment life, y'all. So that you take what I said. I'm not trying to make a whole lot of money. I know that's everybody's goal, but I just want to be able to be able to live comfortable, to be able to go and travel with my kids, and to be able to just do the things that I want to do that I'm not normally able to do. I guess you should say I could say that's my purpose.
Right.
I don't know if I
So
answered that kind of
no,
correctly. Kind of like
absolutely. You you you
don't
you you answered it perfectly. So remember some of the conversations that we've had. Um, I try and give people a realistic goal, an attainable goal. And when we've had some of our sessions, you've kind of laid out a few things that you want to get accomplished that, like you said, that involve traveling with your kids and your family, involves obtaining some financial freedom, etc. Can you walk our audience through, how we got to giving yourself a value, a monetary value? Because at the end of the day, this is called multimillionaire. And so to have that multimillionaire mentality, we wanted to start off with a dollar value that you felt you should be generating every day.
well, kind of just what we talked about based on where my goals and where I'm trying to be at. My dollar figure was $550 a day.
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of where we were trying to go. Now, wait a minute. That may sound a little small to some of you, but as Charles
Hmm.
will kind of, walk you through the process, it's really kind of big.
Right. So,
Because I don't want people to think like, we're setting these figures out and we're throwing these numbers out, but really everything that Charles talks about has a relationship to it, to where it's going to take you to the next destination. You know how we had a GPS, it's taking us along the route. It's kind of the same thing, but I wanted to start with a goal. And a lot of you know that I talk about that all the time. What's your goal? How much do you need to make in order to get to where you're going? So Charles is doing the same thing I'm doing to you. So remember, what I do to you, I get done the same thing, but he's breaking it down just a little bit different. Okay, go ahead, Charles. Just go
all
ahead,
right.
Charles.
All right, no worries, no worries. So for context to the audience, Tandra wants to generate $550 a day, and that calculates to right about $200,000 a year. Okay. Now let's all remember though, that's after that's profit. She wants to make that. So it's a difference between making it versus generating it. So you have gross revenues versus your profit. So just for
Okay, wait a minute,
context.
Charles. Break that
Mhm.
down again. You said
Yeah.
something really, really good. There's a difference between, you said, generating it and
Yep.
making it. So
Right.
I want all my audience to be writing this down. So to break that down just a little bit for my audience.
Sure. So imagine all of the monies that you have coming in for providing a product or a service. That would be, once you actually get a payment, that's your gross revenue. Okay. But of course, we all have expenses. No matter what, we always have expenses. We can't get around it. Just for us to have a cell phone, that's an expense. So we all have expenses. So in the context of today's conversation, we want to think about how do we help Tandra not just generate $550, but make $550 every day. So now, after we defined a little bit of purpose, now Tandra has some purpose to why she wants to generate that much. Would you like to share with the audience what some of those specific things were?
Well, listen, I don't want to share all my juice.
Yeah, not all of it, just Just
But you know
the
what?
travel part, maybe.
You know what? But let's kind of turn it around a little bit. Let's talk to them how they generate purpose. You know, a
Ooh.
lot of times, you know, our audience, and the reason why I want to go there, not to say that I don't want to share, because y'all know I like sharing, but I want to say this. A lot of times when we talk about stuff, I think a lot of times it's hard for us to really do it if you're not walking us through it. Like one of the things I like to do is try to walk everybody through, like, you know, when we talk about purpose, what does that mean? How do you break purpose down? So like right now everybody has their pen and paper. I want you to know, oh my God, I'm getting filled up over here. I want them to know, how do we break your purpose down? Because see, that's important. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times people start businesses, and you know, including myself, and you know that from us talking. And then one of the things, you know, you kind of hit me in the head and gave me some reality about, okay, I don't quite know if that's, you know, it, not to say that that's not my purpose, but
Right.
how did you come up with that? So Charles, kind of walk us through the definition of a purpose and how a person would like kind of really think about generating that purpose. You follow
So,
me a little bit?
yep, yep. So in mentality, um, I break purpose down into three areas. So there's purpose of self, there's purpose of your primary circle, which is your loved ones and those who you care about most, best friends, mates, etc. And then there's your secondary circle, which is everyone else, which could be clients, colleagues, you know, folks that you wouldn't necessarily, you know, just invite to a picnic, but you know, they're there. Um, so when we talk about purpose, and we're still talking about the context of helping to Tandra to generate $550 a day. Um, you want to, it's really simple math. All right. You think about the things that you want to accomplish, but those things that are in a monetary value. When you're talking about things that aren't a monetary value, sure, always important to, you know, list those as goals as well. But like I said, this is multimillionaire, so we're always talking about money. So think about things from that context. For example, um, I love to travel. And so last year, after I launched my crypto scripts, um, for the most part, I traveled. I can't even tell you how many cities in the United States I hit last year. My biggest trip was to Puerto Rico. So um, I love to travel. Um, I I'm not a very flashy guy, but there was one day, I'll say it was about 5 years ago. Um, I had went to a fundraising function, and I saw a valet pull up in this really nice Mercedes Benz AMG S class coupe, and I said to myself 5 years ago, I want that. I just like the look of it. Sounds like it's got a really nice sound system. I want that. So what did I do as part of my purpose for myself last year? I made that a bucket list item at the beginning of the year. And by April, I purchased myself a Mercedes-Benz AMG S-Class coupe. And for the Omaha area, it's very rare. I think there's only one other person, the one that I saw, that even has one. They're more popular in some of the bigger cities that have more luxury vehicles. Um, I also paid off all my debts. I helped a lot of my primary circle to take care of a lot of their debts and to get them ahead. So that was my purpose. Um, now getting back into the purpose
Okay,
of
so
others. Yeah, go
okay,
ahead.
can I say one thing real
Yeah.
quick?
Mhm.
Okay, so y'all, now I hope y'all wrote that down. He gave you 3 pillars to the purpose. And if you notice in his story, the first thing he talked about was self. You know, like just like I said, you know, one of the things for me is this is what, you know, I want to have. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to spend time with my family. You know, we concentrated on self first. So I got to break this down, Charles. So
Yeah.
we kind of concentrated on self first. Okay.
There's an
So
analogy.
I just kind of
There's
want to
an
break pillars down, because when
Yeah.
people think about purpose, they're thinking, well, my purpose, like, okay, let me give you an example. So my purpose is, somebody said, well, what is your purpose for your business? And a lot of people say, my purpose is to, to empower people, I'm just giving an example. I'm just throwing some stuff out to empower people to do, to change the world and this, that, and other. But how you're breaking purpose down is, listen, I'm gonna give you 3 pillars. And the first thing when you talk about purpose is, what do you want for yourself?
For yourself, right.
So, we got to kind of break it down into that area, because when people say purpose, it kind of leads into a different direction. Okay, I just wanted to say that. So guys, he's breaking these pillars down, and he said the first pillar is purpose. I mean, it's self. So if you're thinking and writing down right now, a part of getting our mentality ready to become that multimillionaire, we got to think about, what do we want for us? What is it about us first?
And listen, it's not selfish. I use an analogy a lot. Many of us have traveled on airplanes, and while they're doing the safety talk, the safety briefing, the flight attendant will say to you, well, when it comes down to, say, the mask falling out, who do you put the mask on first? Now, the answer is you put it on yourself first. Doesn't mean you're being selfish. It just means that if you're going to be able to do anything for which is likely your primary circle, your kids, your husband or wife or spouse, you got to be able to make sure you're breathing first so that you can help in case they can't. All right.
Oh, I love that, Charles. Wait a minute. Now, one thing,
so it's not about being selfish. It's just about, you have to be able to take care of you.
Okay, Charles, listen. Listen, I'm glad y'all with me on the woo-woo. You ain't forgot that woo-woo. I love that, because he said something that is so important that I hope. First of all, thank you. We have someone on our Facebook that wrote down exactly these 3 pillars. But I want you to I gotta just interrupt just a little bit, Charles, because that was good. Like,
hey, we only got an hour, Tandra. Come on now.
Okay, all right. Go ahead. Go. I don't know.
I still got 5 more domains to hit. Come on now.
Okay, all right. Let's go. But I just gotta keep giving.
Yeah, no, I know. I know. We're probably gonna have to make this a 2-part thing anyway. It is.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So once you've thought about purpose for self, which has to have some self-care, purpose for your primary circle, your loved ones, your closest friends, family, and your secondary circle, which is everyone else. Then we start thinking about ability, which is domain number 2. Ability is very simple. We break down ability into 5 groups: mental, physical, financial, spiritual, and miscellaneous. Now I'm gonna go on and say the 3rd domain, because it also uses those same subdomains. That 3rd domain is wellness, and everything else is the same: mental, physical, financial, spiritual, and miscellaneous. Now let's talk about ability and wellness. Ability is exactly what it means. Are you able to do something or not? All right. Do you have a skill to complete something or not? All right. And that's across all of those areas. Wellness is the continuous improvement of those abilities. Okay. So let's say you are a presenter or a coach, and you've probably got, over stage fright and all that. But maybe there's something that could be more consistent you're doing across any of those 5 areas. What I try and give people the framework of is, all right, let's assess what your ability is, and we have to have some reference, so you can give yourself a score on those abilities. Oh, I'm a top 10 presenter. Okay, well, what other things are you good at? Are you good at marketing yourself? Are you good at being on social media? Are you good at, booking your travel? All the other components that go into being a successful presenter or coach or keynote speaker or whatever. So the wellness then is, all right, what steps do you need to take to improve those abilities and to keep on the top of your game. All right. Any questions on ability or wellness? Tandra?
Okay, listen, hold on. Let me listen. I'm
Hey,
trying to take,
I'm
listen,
just
don't
I'm trying
take
to get us through the hour.
I'm trying to write my notes too.
Oh, right.
Okay, first of all, you got a best friend on here.
I got best friend.
You got a best friend. He's my best friend.
Oh wow. I see it now. We got 3 more domains.
Okay, listen, we got to take a time though.
All right, yeah, let's take
We
some
got to
time.
let some of this marinate.
Yeah, we got process. Yep.
Some people, I mean, some of our audience, they want to be able to write the information down and they want to marinate it.
Yep.
Okay, so we have someone from Indianapolis that want to say hello.
Hey, what's up, Indy? Ralph, what's going on there?
And then we have, let's see.
Hey, what's going on from Pakistan?
Listen, we got somebody saying great tips. Okay, let's reset the room just real quick.
Yep,
so this is Talk to Me Tuesday, where we're sharing helpful networking tips to grow your business. We have the amazing Charles Parks. And listen, the third. I'm going to try to let him get it all out, but you know how I am when it comes to Talk to Me Tuesday. I always got to intercede, so sometimes we don't get to where we need to get to in the hour. But let me see. I'm going to try to get us there. I'm going to try to be quiet.
You good.
Okay, let's see here. We got
welcome from Nigeria.
Yeah, listen to this. Worldwide.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I love what you're saying. I think it's great. Okay, look at this. Telling the book of section with Charles. We're gonna get to that for sure.
We're good. We're gonna get to that.
Okay, so listen. You're breaking down some good information. So go ahead. I'm gonna let you go ahead to the next couple of pillars. Because
yeah. So what we'll do is we'll try and get at least through the domains on this call. And circle back. Yep, that sounds good. Okay, so domain number 4. Domain number 4 is drive. What gets you up in the morning? What gets you going throughout your day? What are the things that will motivate you to not just perform, but to always perform your best? That's very important, because you may have the ability and it may be a world-class ability, but if there's nothing that's really waking you up to use that ability, and in the context of multimillionaire mentality, to monetize that, what's the point? So this is why when we start all the way from purpose, we turn that purpose into drive. What things are going to motivate us to execute that purpose?
Okay, wait a minute. I gotta stop because I love what you said. It kind of circles back, everybody, back to the beginning, just like what he said, purpose. But you know what? Here I have a question. A lot of, let me make sure I'm getting it right. So it's, you have the financial and the ability, but you talked about drive. Talk a little bit about how those three kind of, because you can have all the money in the world. Okay, you can have the ability to make all the money in the world that you have, and you can have this financial. But when it comes to drive, talk a little bit more how those three come together. Now, I hope I'm answering the question right. So talk about a little bit of how those three,
I think what I want to do is get, if I explain the last 2 domains, and then we'll take a case study and I can loop it all.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's do that.
All right.
So we not forget your question.
Yeah, I got you. But it's going to all make sense, because some of it, the questions will be answered in the other domains. All right. So domain 5 is performance. Now, we look at performance as a measurement, but it doesn't have to be a standard of measurement. What I help people do is to develop their own measures of performance. So let's talk a little bit about what those measures are, how we come to that. We have a measure called a dimension. A dimension is simply something that you categorize. Let's say health, or let's say savings, or whatever. A metric is something specific we are measuring inside of that dimension, that category. So let's say, so I'm diabetic, for example, and
I mean, not great, but I was going to say, give an example.
yeah. So I'm diabetic. This year I made a conscious effort that I needed to better my health. So I went to the doctor in February. Doctor says, the doctor almost sent me to the ER. Says, I don't know how you're even conscious right now. Your A1C is over 15 and your sugars are over 400, which is, for diabetics, everyone, that's really high.
Wow.
So I said, well, look, I don't want to take insulin because I have friends that do, and I've seen what that looks like. So let's try everything else first, and that'd be last resort. And I'll work on everything on my end to do it. So let's say that blood glucose is a metric under my dimension of health. And let's say A1C is a metric under dimension of health. Now, the measurement itself, I call a scalar. So blood glucose is measured in a certain way, and so is an A1C. And A1C that'll be easier for conversation. It's simply a number. Okay, 15 is the highest that you can get, and the higher it is, the worse your diabetes is and can potentially impact you long term. The final dimension, and I'm gonna come back to all this, I promise. The final dimension is support. Support goes two ways. You give or you receive. And we also break it down into, is the support one time or is it recurring? So now I'm going to tie everything in with my diabetes. Okay. So we'll start all the way with domain one, purpose. My purpose for myself for this year was to get healthier than I have been. Okay. Ability means that I'm able to actually do that. And I'm able to still have an income. I'm able to still do quite a few things. There's few things that my health disables me from doing, knock on wood. Okay. My wellness means I need to improve upon my A1C. I need to reduce it. All right. So the action plan I came up with for myself was, I said, well, I need to cut as many carbs as I can for 3 months. So I did a 30-gram protein shake, which has 1 gram of sugar, and I made wraps every day with 0 carb tortillas, and I had a sugar-free vinaigrette dressing. So mornings and evenings, all I had was the shake, and my only meal of the day for 3 months was a wrap, essentially. Fast forward 6 months later, A1C and blood glucose are cut in half. Okay. So I was able to continuously measure. I had also had high blood pressure. So I had a blood pressure meter.
I had some other stuff going on too.
Man, I don't even want to talk about my allergies. That's just a whole nother conversation. So I had blood pressure, but the most important thing was the diabetes. So I had a blood glucose monitor. So I was able to log my own progress to make sure I was doing enough. I have neuropathy as a result of the diabetes. So about a month in, I had to get on a prescription for helping with my neuropathy. So like I said, fast forward 6 months later, it's very rare I have any pain in my feet now. I definitely feel better. I'm not drinking 3 gallons of water for nothing. So I've reached my goal, or at least one of my goals. And support wise, I have a lot of support from my family, as far as, they've been very good about asking me can I fix you something or whatever, and a lot of times I'd say no, I'm okay, because I've had to be very disciplined with my diet.
So, okay, before I make a comment, hit me with that last six. Hit me with number 6.
So the support,
Oh,
um,
support is 6. Okay.
yep, support 6. So for me, and this ties somewhat into expanding the scope of my self purpose. I created this company, Multimillionaire, to help others become multimillionaires, especially people of color. Um, and so when it comes to support, I try to give more support than I receive. I'm just wired that way. But that being, I try to help people. I try to help people see the bigger picture of things. I've always been a very competent problem solver, and I'm always able to think about things from a much grander scale. Um, so support for me is about giving the max that I can, because I'll be honest, I've been blessed throughout my lifetime, and so I attribute a lot of those blessings to all the support that I've given.
Okay, so listen, all of that was some good juice. That was some woo woo, woo 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 woo. And I know I got some health experts on here as well, because I got them coming in on LinkedIn, got them coming in
Hmm.
on Facebook.
Yeah,
He's
we both
perfectly
got quite of
fine.
a following.
Listen, he's perfectly fine.
Mhm.
Listen, but what he did, what Charles did, and this is what I love. Even me and Charles have some amazing conversations together. But what he did is, again, I want to go back to that question, because he did loop it all together. He took everything he just said, but he gave you an example just of something personal on how he broke that down with all the 6 different pillars. And just imagine if you broke that down in your business. If you took
Mhm.
something that was a high goal for you
Mhm.
and plugged these 6 pillars in to that, imagine, just imagine what that could be. Now you have to kind of dig deep, just
Yeah.
a little bit deeper, because what he's saying is so real. And I hope everyone is catching this. It's so real of how you really put yourself into that millionaire mentality, and how you can now start making what you're trying to do or what your goal is. Um,
Exactly. I had to improve my health in order to continue to be able to help others. So that's why for me that was my self purpose. And so like I said, I had the ability to get better health. Uh, my wellness, I'm still continuously improving upon maintaining that health. The drive factor for me was I still want to be able to serve and work and consult, and help my family benefit from that. The performance, like I said, it's measuring things like my A1C level, measuring things like my blood pressure, making sure that those things are on track. Um, and in support, like I said, I like to be able to not just um, give support, but even in the context of diabetes, I try to help other diabetics really execute plans that help, their diabetes.
well, you know what? And here's the thing too. It all took but I got to keep relating it back, because y'all know I
Mhm.
network all things. But
Mhm.
you know what? It still relates back to one most important thing when we first started our conversation, was we talked about what your purpose was, but the very first thing out of that pillar was self. And if we don't take care of ourselves and plug all these different components in, then we will never get to the millionaire.
Right.
Do everybody follow me? I hope so. Somebody say put a 1, 2, 3 or something in the chat if you're following me. Yes, it does relate to business, but sometimes, we have to take back and make sure that the reason why we started what we're doing has some meaning, some juice, some what do you want to call it? Some of that good grip behind it, because
Yep.
that's what kind of fuels and keeps us going. Would you agree? Would you agree with that, Charles?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's like a whole drive component. What is going to motivate you to perform and to be your best that you can possibly be? I mean, we all and listen, I know that mentality, multimillionaire mentality has these 6 domains. I'm not really reinventing the wheel. I'm defining it in a different framework that I think is simpler for people to understand and to execute than maybe some of the other methodologies that you've read about or attended to. I'm trying to make it a lot more simplified to think about how do you assess where you are in your life, where you've been in your life, how do you take those experiences, how do you develop new skills and turn them into money? Because at the end of the day, most of you that are here, you're trying to think about how you can generate more, not just more income, but more profit, so that you
Or
can
just even
have that financial freedom.
or change it. Most people got into business because they wanted, they wanted
Change
something
lives.
different in life.
Yep.
And that's really what this is all about,
Right.
and sometimes it takes, what is that saying? We can't really see because we can't really see the picture because we're inside of the frame. Or I know somebody gonna catch me on it, but you know what I mean.
And
Sometimes
I
you
try
have
and
to
take
get
away the
out.
frame. Yeah. And I try to take away the frame. Like what frame? What are y'all talking about? Yeah,
But
I that's very common. I mean, I tell people a lot of times they'll share their ideas with me, and I'll tell them they're great ideas, but there's certain elements of the idea they're keeping themselves in a box. So I said, so let me remove the box for you. And then when I remove the box and show them how things can scale, I show them how to set a goal of say 550 a day. It changes things. Because now, and you and I have just recently talked about this, if you come up with a value, like let's say you're trying to generate $1.2 million in a year. All right. So that breaks down to 100 grand a month, right? When you break that down further, you take 100 grand divided by, I'll say 28, whatever. And the idea is when opportunities come across your table, you should be able to look at an opportunity, and if that opportunity doesn't help you to generate that 100 grand a month, 1.2 mil a year, why even do it? All right.
why do it?
Why even waste your time doing it? And so when you have a mindset of, okay, so each deal I do, maybe it ramps up to 100,000 a month, but I can visualize how it ramps up. That's different, versus a one-time deal or a smaller deal that you can't really see at scale. And so that's why we have things like performance, where you're able to even evaluate a deal that comes in, or an opportunity, and does that opportunity actually help you serve your purpose? So for the purpose for self, purpose for your family, loved ones, purpose for everybody else, does it do that? Do you have the ability to execute your abilities into that opportunity? But most importantly, from the context of multimillionaire mentality, does it actually help you reach that status? Because if it doesn't help you reach that status, why waste your time?
Listen, yeah, he tells me this every day. I ain't gonna say every day.
Almost.
He gonna say every day. But it's like, and here's the thing about it is, when when you have a great coach or leader, because that leader begins to tell you, first of all,
You
first
might
of
as well
all,
go and share that. We could take the names out of it, but you might as well go and share that. Because I think your audience would love the context.
I'm just saying, again, listen, audience, I'm saying to you that sometimes you got to get hit back with reality of where you're going. And here's the thing too, some people have to be reminded that when you get ready to do something, and if it's not going to make you any money
or the money you want,
then you cannot do it no matter how bad you want to do it. Now, listen, I have a good friend of mine that's always telling me, she always telling me, listen, there's so many people. Oh, you know what? We're going to mix this up a little bit. Can I do that?
Let's do it.
Let's mix it up a little bit. Okay. She's always saying, how people always, put all this information out here and trying to tell us what's, suggesting, I don't want to say tell, but suggesting, stuff for us to do, but then people don't do it themselves. They don't follow up themselves. So how can they really be that person who can sit there and tell you, hey, you know what? You didn't make $550 a month. I mean, $550 a day. You're telling me to do it, but actually, you're not doing it. I mean, let's talk about it. Let's mix this whole conversation up, because this is Talk to Me Tuesday, y'all. Look, where we can share some helpful networking tips. But I want to talk about that because that still goes back to what we're talking about today, about the mentality of being a multimillionaire. Because we know that we got, just like you said, support. We got to have leaders that help us get us to the next level. Okay? So let's talk about leaders. Come back to that question, Charles, what I just said. Or did I give a question?
I don't think you gave a question. So give me one.
I didn't. Okay, the question was, how do we as leaders, how do we, first of all, I don't know. I just want to say, I know it.
I see. I'm dropping too much on you. I better slow down.
You ain't dropping too much. I'm just saying, right. Listen, we have a goal. The question is, what makes it? How do a person generate an obtainable goal? Like break that down. Okay, I'm gonna break that down for you. Okay, that's gonna be that question. How do you make an obtainable goal? Now, we talked about numbers. I gave you guys my number. Mine is $550 a day, which I think that's attainable. Mm-hmm. So for someone who's like listening to us and they're saying like, okay, I feel like my goal of say $10,000 a month. I'm just going to throw it out. I'm just making up a number. $10,000 a month is obtainable. But if you don't start with what you make today, how do you make that attainable? Is that a question? That's a question.
Let's back up just one step. I think, we're going, that's a good question. What I try to answer first though is, why do you have to make $550 a day? Because I think a lot of people, let's say they want to travel. And so what I always have everyone do is make a bucket list. Say, okay, well, where do you want to travel to? Sorry, that's my mailman. Where do you want to travel to? Okay. Put a dollar value to it. Now let's work the math backwards. Once you know how much that trip would probably cost, and you set a date of when you're trying to do that, then you divide that by how many days there are from that date. Now you know how much money you have to save in order to go towards that trip, that vacation, whatever it is that you want. The attainability of it is, all right, realistically, do you have the ability to sell some type of offering or service, or to monetize a skill that will help you make it attainable? Then going to drive, well, what's going to motivate you to help it become attainable? The performance is, okay, as you are executing your plan, are you reaching those goals? If not, we'll go back to wellness and figure out how do we continuously improve on your ability to do better, to perform better. And do you need some support? Support doesn't necessarily mean just a coach or a mentor. Support can be things like a vendor. Okay. Imagine our lives.
There, Charles.
What's that?
I love what you just said.
Okay.
Hello for the people in the back. He just said support does not mean that you have to have a coach. Now, we know we need coaches, but we're going to break that down. We're going to break support down real quick. Go
All
ahead.
right. So support can be a vendor that sells you a cell phone plan, a vendor that makes you a website or cuts your graphics, or basically it's somebody else that has abilities that you don't. Okay. So
Basically, somebody who has the abilities that we don't.
that's right.
Basically, somebody who has abilities that we can use, because we're not all, listen, if we
Yeah,
were
nobody
all,
can do everything.
there you go.
Yeah, none
So
of us
we
can do
have to look
everything.
for other people to get support from in order to make our business grow.
Right. Right.
Okay, I just want to say.
Um so as long as all of the 6 domains can apply, and you can visualize applying those 6 domains, and yeah, every domain has, they all break down, but just for the sake of time, then you're really empowering yourself to have that multimillionaire mentality, because nothing can stop you. you know that's how you want to how you want to look at things. You have some of the leaders out there, like Grant Cardone. He has a 10x thing, which basically says, for every 10 actions you're going to get something. Well, that, I think that's a good start, but in my world, I try to push people to do 100 times 100x.
Hmm.
um because if you do 100x, then you should get 10x back.
That's
All
good
right.
juice.
Yeah.
That's good juice.
So if you're doing, let's say, a subscription platform. I know we have a lot of presenters here on the call. Let's say you did a subscription platform. The subscription platform monetizes your abilities, and it requires a minimal amount of resources to pull off, because what you're doing is you're taking your abilities, the abilities you already have, and hopefully you're exercising some wellness and continuously improving on those abilities, improving on those skills, and you're monetizing them. All right. um even Tandra and myself, we're building a platform now, and hopefully Tandra will speak on that before we jump off. We're building a platform now, um, which empowers others to strongly build their networks. Both Tandra and I together, we have almost, I believe, 70,000 followers on LinkedIn alone, and we can talk about the different methodologies of how anyone can build that kind of a base. Um, on
Yes.
Tandra's side, it's more of an interpersonal style of developing of building a network, whereas on my end, it's more of a digital strategy, something you can be doing that's quick, that's repetitive, but doesn't take a lot
Wait a
of
minute, Charles. So did y'all just see what Charles just said? First of all, he talked about support. And when we're talking about support, we're talking about two people with two different opposite things coming together.
Mhm.
That's huge. That's collaboration. We
Yeah,
cannot do this without
each other.
collaboration.
That's right. That's right.
But he has an amazing skill set that can tie in to what I do, or
Mhm.
I have something that can tie into what he can do.
Yeah,
And
let's
when
let's
he
let's talk a
said,
little bit about that symbiosis, just
yeah,
so
let's
that your
talk about
audience
it.
has that
Go ahead.
that context, because she's right. In a sense, we're supporting each other. I am the kind of person that I like to be behind the scenes. I don't have a problem having conversations such as this, but I prefer to be behind the scenes, producing interviews like this and things like that. Versus Tandra, she's the go getter. She'll get in and rub shoulders and meet and greet folks, and I think that's awesome. It's a tremendous skill. But we're both able to teach people how to, even if you're introvert, but you want to build a network because you have some education you want to sell, or whatever it is. um, the symbiosis of us, I'm able to help provide opportunities for Tandra, and vice versa. She's able to provide opportunities for me. We work out the numbers, and everybody's happy. So that, yeah, the support part is very important, because as Tandra mentioned earlier, none of us can do all of this alone. It's just not possible.
It's not possible. And that's why I love Talk to Me Tuesday, because you know what? This is where you can come and get information. You can ask your questions, you know, and let other people help.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's the beauty of everything that we have. A lot of times we don't want to do that, and fear that maybe sometimes, you know, people going to take our clients, or people's going to do this thing, and that's not what it's about. You
Right.
know, I was matter of fact, I was listening to something the other day, and they were saying how, you know, Charles, you tell me this all the time, you know, with billions and millions of people out in the world, you only need, what do you always tell me, 1%.
1%. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I talk about 100x instead of 10x, because you know, I always think about things at scale. You know, it's hard for me to it's hard for me to look at things at a very small scale. And we have a commenter, they're also a behind the scenes person too. Um, listen, because have albinism, I was an extremely introvert kid. Extremely introvert. I was very self-conscious about having albinism because people would look at me differently all the time. And I had to convince myself that if I was going to be successful in the world, I had to come out of that shell, which means I had to develop some communication skills. I had to develop a mastery of emotional intelligence, just things of that nature, just so that, um, people wouldn't think I was just that weird. Listen, I was born weird. It is what it is, and I graciously accept it. But I've been able to overcome a lot of obstacles, just because I told myself I needed to come more out of my shell and still be able to uh, give support. I always try to give more than I receive. That's just in my nature. I try to give more support than I try to receive. But I tell everyone, look, if you have a mindset where you put support on the table before somebody else puts support on the table, pretty much you have the upper hand in those opportunities, because you're making a whether it's a commitment or you're making a gesture that allows someone else to say, oh well, they got my back, so let me take care of them too. Hey, I know we're short on time. Do we got any questions?
Let's, well, you know what? We
Or do
do.
we not have time? We probably don't have
Well, we
time, huh?
probably ain't really got some time.
Yeah.
Um,
You have
but
another question that we can wrap up with, or
well, the only question I think I want to wrap up with, because listen, this has got to be a three series,
yeah.
okay?
Well,
Because
there's
we
a reason
really
why
do.
we're gonna have a show
Yes,
together,
we are
because
going to have a show.
yeah.
And when we have this show, y'all, it's going to be amazing. Let's talk a little bit about what we want to bring some good juice. Okay, we want to bring some good juice, and y'all know, because I am the what y'all. I love to bring y'all all the kind of networking tips that I can bring you, because I truly believe too, Charles, that you know what, the more that we can support and help other people, you know, it's all about giving. Once
Mhm.
we win, we all win, and we
We all
have to
win.
really have that mentality. So, but what our talk show is going to be about, it's going to be giving you some really, really helpful tips to help you just, you know, take your business to a whole nother level, to get that multi-million dollar mentality, so you could start, you know, saying, hey, I want to make $650 or whatever your goal may be, that we keep you on track to do that. You know, that's going to be huge. And right now, we don't have a lot of that.
Hmm.
Would you
That's true.
agree? We don't have
Totally.
a lot. We don't have a lot of that.
Hmm.
Um, and I think the thing about it is once we can come together and have a system that we can put together, more people, we will see more people elevating in their business. We'll see more people doing more amazing things and being able to help other people in their community. I mean, it's all about how can we help someone else. I always say how we pass the baton. So I'm super excited about our collaboration and what we got
Absolutely. I
going
am
and
too.
what we're going to be able to bring. And I want you guys to tune in. We're going to be doing it right after our talk to me Tuesday. We're not going to do it to start, not today. But I'm going to let you know, because we're going to broadcast it good. But I'm going to let you know when we're going to start doing that. And we're going to start having some amazing deep dives. We want to have some deep dive conversations that, I think you're going to be so super duper excited about, just as I am. I'm excited about it. So, you know what I'm saying? And I love working with Charles because, like I said, we got to get that support. And I truly believe that this is a support that's going to work good for the both of us, all of us.
I know there was a question at the beginning about booking a session.
Yes. So how do we book sessions with Charles? Tell us how we book sessions with you, Charles.
So if you are a professional, I really suggest you get on LinkedIn if you're not already on there, especially if you're trying to build clientele. But hop on LinkedIn, and you can find me just like my name. Let me point to it right, like my name says. Hopefully I pointed in the right place, because sometimes these things mirror and it shows up the other way. But anyway, you're gonna if you look up CP number 3 letter O, you'll find me. You can also go to CP number 3 letter O.com. It also takes you straight to my LinkedIn profile. Just send me a note. Give me an idea of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and we'll set some sessions up, and we'll figure out what's your budget, things like that, and go from there.
Okay, so listen, we still got just a few more minutes, because you know what?
Let's use it. Let's do it. What you got?
So I want to go back, though. I don't know if we really ever answered. I guess we did. We answered that question. I don't want them to say I didn't get the question answered from earlier when we talked about how do you really combine those three. You have the ability, you have the money, but let's talk about like that momentum. Like momentum is huge. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times people don't. I don't know, like I know a lot of things happen, and a lot of stuff is going on in the world. Sometimes get us distracted and kind of gets our level, our synergy down. But we still have to have that something that drives us, that puts us in gear every day. Let's talk about that a little bit. We got a few minutes.
Listen, I believe everybody has motivation, has something that motivates them to achieve, motivates them to perform. But it really does come down to how you measure your own performance. How do you hold yourself accountable for accomplishing a task? How do you hold yourself accountable for how much you've saved toward a goal? You have to be able to hold yourself accountable, but at the same token, you have to have something that drives you to have a reason to hold yourself accountable. If you're not waking up like, oh man, I'm gonna get this done today because that's going to help me get to that million. Well, again, maybe that's not what you should be pursuing. Pursue the things that that brings you joy and happiness.
Okay, Charles, wait a minute. I got somebody that wants to meet you, and I'm gonna pop them on up in here.
Okay.
Hey, listen, this is Sabrina, Dr. Sabrina Allison, and listen, She's a favorite of mine. Me and her talk often.
Yeah, I watched the show with you guys.
Yeah, listen to you. Look at Sabrina got her some people.
Right. Right.
Listen, she wanted to pop in and meet some Charles Parks.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, you my new best friend, okay? And I'm your new best friend. Tell everybody else, don't worry about your A1C. I got it. Tell them don't worry about it.
I got it from 15 to 7.5, and I'm still going down, so I'm doing pretty good.
You down to 7.5?
I chopped it in half in 6 months.
I got you. Don't worry about it. We gonna get that together. You my new best friend. I'm your new best friend. Okay.
I'm with it.
Okay, so you know who said now I'm your best friend in here in these comments, Charles. So now you get to meet her in person.
Yes,
I'm the friend that Dr. Price was talking about when she said, "How can you say to do something when I don't see you doing it?"
Okay.
That's me. What I try to tell Dr. Price is, even
you gotta be good on my show, my time to be.
I'm gonna be me. Even though your mentor may see something in you that they feel is a good thing.
Right.
If you know that that is not your wheelhouse, why go over there?
That's right.
That's because I can look like I'm good at a whole lot of things. But just because I look like that, that does not mean that's where I should focus my energy. And you made a good point. Tandra is warm and fuzzy. She likes to be out front.
Yep.
Exactly. And I tell her
the perfect personality for it.
And I tell her all the time that even though she may feel that I should be out front, I like to work with my hands. I like the build up. I like the end all be all. I like to stick and move. And pushing me out front does not mean I'm going to be good at what you think you see. But when I know I am good at other things, especially infrastructure.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that? When you know what your wheelhouse is, but somebody else tries to tell you what your wheelhouse is?
You got 2 minutes.
We got 2 minutes. Okay. Well,
don't be putting Charles on the spot, Miss Dr. Allison.
Doc, we about to put her on mute. No, I'm messing with you.
Praise the Lord.
That's an interesting question. I tell people, look, I'm definitely not the know-it-all. I know what I do know, and I'm competent and confident in demonstrating that to whatever end.
Right.
I think that people, I know I got 2 minutes.
Right. You got something like 2 minutes.
If people would just think about what their lane is. I mean, we talk about staying in your lane, right? People sometimes just need to stay in their own lanes. They don't, they need to just keep their own wheel steady instead of trying to, swerve over, dip a toe in. No. Stay in your lane, but but that's why we have tools that help you assess what your lane is, and as well, what your lane is not. It is very important for having points of reference, whether it's, like I said, and this is where LinkedIn is really important, because you can find somebody that has a very similar skill set, but they're at a different level. They're at a 6-digit, 7-digit, 8-digit level. Okay. And the question is, okay, well, do you have the same abilities? Are your abilities better? Great. But do you have all the mechanisms like that person has, including support, to get to that next level? But no, we all need to be able to hold ourselves accountable for measuring what abilities we have and don't.
Right.
And just stay in our lane of those abilities. If we want to go off and learn something else, great. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of doctors here in our audience. That's great. I went a different route. Instead of going to college, I have 47 IT certifications.
Okay.
All right. So we could, when you talk about like wellness, we're always trying to continuously improve on our knowledge base. All of us are. We're always trying to better our game. Right. So people just need to stay in their lane. That's what I have to say to that. Just stay in your lane. Uh-oh.
Charles, let me make this point. And she's
trying to censor you over there.
Especially just because a person has resources, like you said, support. If I have the support that can get me to that next level, just because I don't use that person's support system does not mean I don't have the same support, nor does it mean my support system does not have the same accessibility, if not more, than the support system that she feels I should use. If I
think we're gonna have to go off on a Zoom, and we're gonna
have to go off on a Zoom. Hey, I tell you what, won't y'all two just hang back after I finish this? After I just hang back just a second. Listen, I'm super excited that y'all all joined me for Talk to Me Tuesday. You know what? We're sharing helpful networking tips to help your business. Thank you so much, Dr. Allison. Yes, and thank you so much, Charles Parks. The third girl, look, he got that juice. Y'all
we haven't even gotten started.
Y'all ain't even got all of it. I just got to drop some just a little bit. But anyway, listen, I want y'all to tune in. We're going to do some other stuff. Like I said, we got some amazing other things coming. So I want you to tune in. But also, listen, Tapped In is getting ready for their platinum edition for this year. We're going to end out the year on a platinum note. So we're looking for 22 top influential leaders that we're going to be celebrating for the end of the year. So I want you to be one of them. So I want you to click on the link at the end of this video and join us for Tapped In Magazine. And we will see you same time, same place next Tuesday. Hey, you two stay back on me, okay?
All right.